What's up, YouTube? We got another leg day coming at you. We're back at home. What's up, YouTube? We got another leg day coming at you. We're back at home. The last leg day you saw was in Houston at the Labrada facility. So today it's just me, and I'm going to take you through the equipment that I use on a regular basis. A lot of the stuff I got to use in the last video was like similar exercises, but not quite the same. Just some stuff I don't always get access to. So it's always fun to get to use different pieces of equipment like that. But I'm gonna show you my bread and butter stuff today. Right now, I'm focused on opening up my hips. I have issues with my adductors and my hip flexors. So before I get going on any leg day, I want to open up those hips. And then I'm not just gonna go straight to train after I've stretched. I'm gonna integrate that mobility. So I just open up the front of my hips. Now I'm gonna open up the inside of my hips, and then I'm gonna stabilize it by getting my glutes to work. So we're gonna go to a mobile 90-90 right quick. I just finished up with a cow stretch there at the beginning when I first started this. So we're gonna get into the 90-90 position. We're trying to create internal rotation of the hip. So my knee is turned in, so that is internal rotation. On this one, it is turned out, so it's external rotation here. I'm feeling a really solid stretch right here on the inside of my thigh. When you try to get into this position, you may notice that you're like stuck way down here because you're really tight. That's okay. But what we want to try and work on is slowly over time bringing that torso more vertical. It's okay to use the hand if you can't keep yourself upright. Like right now, my hip just shifted. So I'm going to put my hand back down so I can keep nice and vertical, because the idea is to drive that internal rotation there. So once I have stretched this side and let it open up for a bit, I've held the stretch for a second, I'm going to try and keep my torso upright and roll the other way. So my feet will stay on the floor, and then my knees are just going that way. So I'm lifting up with both, rolling the other direction while I keep my spine as upright as I can. And now I'm stretching the opposite side. So I'm gonna hang out here again, let this side open up really good. And then what you're gonna see me do is just start rolling back and forth. So I'm gonna hold the stretch on both sides for just a short period of time, like maybe 5 seconds, then roll back to the other side, taking that adductor through that internal and external rotation so that it just can move and open up a little bit. And don't be afraid to like move your torso around. So I just squared up with it. I can turn in with it. I can lean over. I can lean forward. Just kind of play around with it and find where you're tight. Let that tissue open up, and then we're going to integrate it, like I said, so that when we go to do the other stuff, it can move and mobilize and stabilize like it's supposed to. So now I'm going to move back and forth. Hold it for just a second. Try to keep my torso upright and roll that hip over. Now, like I said, I'm not going to stretch and now immediately go train. I'm going to integrate that mobility now. So I have stretched my hip this way, and I've stretched my hip into internal and external rotation. So now I'm going to load it with the hip airplane. You guys have seen me do this a million times. So I'm going to use something that I can reach my hand out to so I won't fall over. I'm going to stand on one foot for a second and let my foot stabilize, let it balance, work on grabbing the floor with my foot, trying to get the whole foot on the floor with my toes grabbing the ground. This way my foot goes ahead and goes, oh shit, we gotta do something. We gotta wake up a little bit. So create some balance there at the foot. And then I'm gonna hinge and I'm gonna rotate at the pelvis. So I'm gonna push my hips back. I'm gonna find tension in my hips. This isn't about the hamstring stretch, it's about tension in the hips. So I feel this in my glute right now. Now I'm gonna turn down, feel a stretch on the outside of my hip. Now I'm gonna turn up. Oh shit. That's why we hold on to something. So turn up, feel the stretch on the inside. You can see my foot and knee are a little wobbly there. So this is now challenging these hip stabilizers to do their job versus just training them to be strong. Stability of the hip with the hip airplane and the hinge. Now I want to load my glutes and get them to externally rotate, go into extension, get the glute med firing, get the hip firing. You'll see a lot of people start a quad day with adductors, with pulling their knees together. I don't like to do that personally because I have adductor issues. So if I go and train my adductor before I squat or leg press, and my glute is not active and doing its job, I end up with a shitload of pain, like really, really bad pain, not like the normal kind of sore. It's like a strain on my adductors. So if I go over there and already tire them out and then I try and squat, it makes things a lot harder, right? So, and I cause a lot of injuries that way. So I actually do the opposite. I work on strengthening the outside of my hip first and getting that to just know how to work and push my pelvis forward so I can feel my glutes when I go to squat and leg press. It's helped me out a ton. It's reduced a ton of pain for me. There's a lot of people that'll argue that like this machine is a waste of time, and I understand. Like, I'm not trying to build the side of my glute. I'm not thinking that my side of my glute's gonna get massive because I get on this machine. I'm using this machine to improve position, and it just feels so good on my hips. Strengthening that up and kind of pushing my hips forward in space takes so much tension off my lower back and makes everything just kind of open up a little bit, so that now when I go and leg press and squat, everything's gonna feel in a better position to really be able to output. So this movement isn't necessarily about how much hypertrophy in the side of my glute can I get. It's more of creating better position, and it feels amazing. Y'all may have seen me do this setup in the Labrada video when I was out there in Houston, if you watched it. But I've changed execution and setup on how I'm doing this to kind of target the quad a little differently. So you've seen me in the past kind of grab the handles and hunch forward, pulling my core down and bracing here and opening up my upper back. But with the access to this prime piece, I can really load the stretch because I can get my heel under really far with this piece of equipment. So the stretch position overloaded is actually shown to build more muscle. So if I can take advantage of that, I will. We're going to use the lengthened position in a couple other places, but this is just another place we can do that. I'm also loading the pegs a little bit differently. So my knees have been a little spicy. So trying to remove as much overload on my knees as possible. So with this peg setup, I've got some on the top and I've got some on the bottom. Right now it's evenly loaded. As I increase, I'm gonna just increase the bottom. So that's gonna make this extra heavy at the bottom and actually reduce as I go through the range of motion. But as that heavier weight goes away, it does still get heavy. It gets heavier as I go out. So it's a lot of load in the stretch position, reduces some load, but still puts a lot of tension on the shortened position with more weight on the bottom. It's been super smooth. And it's been helping my knees, so it's working well for me. Now I've got the seat set back really far because I'm trying to create as much stretch as I can. So with having this further back, I can lean my torso back and kind of tuck my hip forward, and now I've got to stretch all the way up to the top of my quad. So I can feel that all the way up here. And it feels, it's not there obviously, but it feels like my heel is gonna hit me in the butt. And that's what I want. I want as much stretch as I can. So there's a lot of tension here. Some reduction at the top, which takes tension off my knees, but still allows me to get a really solid contraction out of it. Oh God. Leg extensions might not be as hard as squats, but fuck, that burn sucks every time. Oh. You've seen me do this pendulum or this hip press, whatever you want to call it. With that one, we have to set up the seat further back so that we can get enough range going forward. With this hammer strength pendulum leg press, we actually want to push the seat forward. So if you look down there, the seat is like really close to the front. The reason for that is if I start it super far back, I'm not going to be able to get enough depth. So I'm going to do my normal stance for leg press or squats, shoulder width, toes slightly angled out to match my hips. And then when I get down to the bottom, you can see how much knee bend I have here. This isn't as far as I'm going to go in the range of motion, but I have to start further forward so that I can get enough stretch here. The other thing that I'm trying to avoid is my back rolling up off the pad. So I like to lock in up here. These handles are kind of weird out here to the side, and this seat rocks. So if I'm struggling here, I'm just going to be shaking. Here I can kind of push back into it, and it's a lot more stable. So from here, my heels are low on the pad, and I'm just creating tension in my quads and then kicking away with tight glutes. So I'm not looking to like squeeze my glutes as hard as I can, but they should be doing something here. They are designed to push that femur that way out of deep knee flexion. So locked in, pull the knees to the chest, push the quads away. Your rep ranges don't fucking matter. What do I mean by that? The numbers you write down are completely arbitrary. If I pick a weight and I think I'm gonna fail in my rep range, say this is 12 to 15, I thought I was gonna fail at 15. I got to 15, it's too fucking easy. Did 3 more. Those are the reps that made a difference in my physique, not the 15. They did something, but those reps closer to failure is what's really breaking down tissue and where we see the most growth, especially as we get bigger. So if I had stopped 3 short, maybe I wouldn't be growing as much. I'm not using this piece of equipment today, but I wanted to illustrate something on how just because one piece of equipment does something different, it moves in a different pattern or is set up different, doesn't necessarily mean that it's any different than something else. So this is our Atlantis hack squat, and it has the capability to push this pad all the way forward to where I'm more vertical. So if you want to come to the side. When I get in this, I'm now in this position. I'm really hinged forward. So you can tell yourself, oh, this is a hack squat. And you can probably load this up with a lot of weight in this position. But if you look at the difference, this and that are not that much different. Because of the torso angle on that machine, it is basically the same as a leg press. It might not be the same as this one, but you can see how with my torso leaned all the way forward at the bottom of that squat, this is the position. So that's no longer a hack squat. It has become a leg press when you hinge it all the way forward. So that is why in that position, you can use a lot more weight than you could trying to do it like a regular hack squat. Pay attention to the movement patterns you're doing so that you reduce redundancies. Because if I have you get on the hack squat and do it like that, and then come over here and do this, we just did the same exercise twice with a different loading pattern. It's the same thing. The pain in the ass part about this Smith machine is it rotates back super far. So what I'm doing with the band is banding it to the clip so that as I stand up, it just flips out for me. Makes things a lot easier. It's not that hard to pull it back forward, but it's a lot harder to roll back without my wrist being like broken. So wrapping the band around that there, then this will come back to the weight clip over here. So now you'll see it'll pull that off. It's not there to assist me. It is not helping me push that weight that direction. So calm down with he's using bands to squat. It's for you. Easy peasy. So if you pay attention to how I am positioned when I do these, I am not shifting back into my hips. My torso gets set at the top, and then I'm trying to keep it vertical as I go down. So that is the purpose of the wedge, for me to be able to drive my knees forward while keeping midfoot pressure. It just helps me change my center of gravity so that I can stay in that upright position better. So I'm not shifting back, loading my glutes. I am dropping down, driving knees forward, and loading quads.
Right, do that bar. Right.
Yes.
Do the bar.
Yep. Oh, fuck.
That's great.
So, fifth and final exercise. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I flipped the order that you typically see people do things in. Did abductors first. Now I'm doing adductors to finish. My biggest issue with squats, leg press, is overworked adductor. My glute doesn't want to always do its job. It's been an issue for me for a long time, so I've had a lot of adductor strains. So by putting this at the end, I've already worked my adductor because I can feel them right now after squats and leg presses. So I don't need as much weight here, and then it also doesn't take away from my ability to actually use my adductor when I'm squatting and leg pressing and causing pain. So this here is just, I'm really gonna focus on stretching and opening up my adductors, and then controlled all the way together, and then controlled rolling back down. Your adductor is a very thin muscle. It's like that long or that wide all the way down the leg. It's long and skinny, so it doesn't have the capability to drive a ton of output. And this is where you could very easily hurt yourself and cause long-term issues. So you have to be very careful and very controlled with your weight. So you're not going to see me jerking together. I'm going to use slow and controlled concentric and eccentric on purpose so that I can just create tension without putting myself in a bad position to cause pain and injury. That's a wrap for leg day, back at home base. As always, like, subscribe, share with your friends, leave me a comment, tell me what you want to see, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like, whatever. We'll see you next time.